The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guests. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here are your co-hosts, Eve D., Bruce H., and the Monty'man.
Ow! Well, welcome aboard, all you wonderful people out there.
What about scallywags and scallyettes or whatever?
Scallywags and scallywaggles or scallywagettes. Bruce is here, Eve's here, Christy the cat is here, Nala the dog is here. And we are all together, cuckoo-cuckoo or something like that. Well, welcome aboard, everyone. It's good to have you with us this week, understanding step 5, the fifth step. The step where we open our mouths and we are in for a long talk.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about that for those of you who may not know what step 5 is, if you're new to the show. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. I emphasize nature of our wrongs because that's important. We'll discuss why here in a few minutes. But just for the heck of just some stuff to share with you, this is a little Take 12 recovery news stuff. No theme music or anything like that. Not for this. But anyway, this part of the show is sponsored by Therapia Addiction Healing Centers. Therapia's program is designed to cultivate mental strength, Bruce, physical health, and spiritual balance. They have developed gender-specific programs for men and women based in the 12 steps that will help their clients and their families get to their core issues so that the healing process can begin. In addition to the strength of their program, they have found a beautiful, peaceful location in the heart of Utah's Red Rock country. And I've seen some of the pictures. Oh my gosh, it's majestic. Well, the folks at Therapia are honored to begin this journey with you and your loved ones. They're ready to help you find your way from darkness into light. To speak to an addiction specialist, you can call 541-652-541. That doesn't sound right. I'm just going to send you to the website. Go to therapia.net, THERAPIA.net. I'm going to give out a sponsee's phone number or something. Okay, well, the daughter of legendary musician Ray Charles has been in the Austin area this week on a mission to help those battling drug addiction. Sheila Ray Charles is leading the Ray of Hope recovery crusade across Texas and 15 other states, raising awareness and education about drug abuse. Charles visited the Travis County Jail earlier this week and a number of other stops across Travis County, not only to share her story, but to also let those people know that there is hope, and is using her story to prove it. Yes, she says, my father is Ray Charles, but I also had 5 children by 4 different men, 3 crack cocaine addicted babies. Charles said, I went to federal prison not once, not twice, but 3 times. I was addicted to crack for 20 years, but then we start to talk about, but when we start to talk about those things, I share that. Charles' tour will continue throughout the early part of 2016. For more information, you can visit her website at SheilaRayCharles.com. SheilaRaye Charles.com. So that, good for her. Good for her. Dick Van Dyke. You guys remember Dick Van Dyke, right?
Yes.
No.
And Bruce says no. You were buddies with him, weren't you?
Hey, you
My
knew
road
Buster
belt.
Brown. You knew Dick Van Dyke.
That's right. Well, he's getting quite candid on how he came to struggle with alcohol abuse. Dick says, I was very shy with strangers. I couldn't talk to people. The 90-year-old entertainment legend admits in E.T.'s exclusive first look at his own interview, and I found if I had a drink, it would loosen me up. The barriers went down, and I became very social. That's what got me started. The veteran actor says that his struggle with alcoholism wasn't easy to overcome. It took me a long time to get over it, he adds. The 90-year-old actor says he is now using his story of substance abuse to help others overcome similar issues. Quote, I get lots of letters from people who say all of a sudden they weren't ashamed to admit they had a drinking problem and they got help, he shares. So I'm very proud of that. I share those two stories because it seems like whenever a celebrity pops up and talks about their recovery, there's always some naysayers out there that says, you shouldn't do that. You're violating traditions. Well, I didn't read any association with any particular 12-step program in either one of those stories. I think it's a good thing. There's a video out there called Anonymous People. I bought a copy of it last year. And basically it's saying, it's our public relations policy that's based on attraction rather than promotion, not our personal stories. And the reason that the rest of the world doesn't know this thing works is because we've misunderstood the anonymity tradition. We think we can't share our personal stories. So we keep them within the basements and meeting halls of our churches and clubs and things like that, and we don't want to share it outside of those rooms.
Yeah, they should read the long version of that.
They should.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So there's that there. Once again, Vancouver. I'm going to say it again. Vancouver. I Love Recovery, the Lifeline Connections alumni events. Myself and comedian Bob Raquel will be there. This is at Clark College Geyser Hall Student Center in Vancouver, Friday, February 26th from 6 to 9. It's a free event, free food, free fun, for fun and for free. There you go. And it was really nice speaking at Celebrate Recovery yesterday. I say that today because we tape the show on Monday. I speak tomorrow, and then by the time it airs, it'll be... See how I just time traveled there? Did you catch that?
Well, you did. You just confused
I just
me
time
and the
traveled.
audience and everybody
Whoosh!
else.
Time traveled.
It's hard enough getting used to these progressive glasses, but when my mind goes that way, too, really gets me dizzy.
It was nice.
Trifocals. Eve's joined the trifocals. It's the unholy trinity for our eyes.
Try to focus. When you hear that crazy stuff, just try to focus.
Do you wear trifocals too?
No.
Yes, he does.
Yes,
I can
you
see the lines
do.
from here. Now that I've got glasses, I can see.
They're not tri.
Are they bifocals?
Bifocals.
Oh, you don't have trifocals? Well, no. Eve and I we've arrived.
Mm-hmm.
We have trifocals.
Is that true about you?
Yeah, I've got to see far
wow.
away and medium distance, and then, of course, I need some significant magnifiers to read.
Oh, my goodness. Otherwise, we're playing trombone, whatever we're reading.
That's right.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
When I got back from Iraq, I just couldn't shake the guilt that I came home and 34 other men did not. There isn't a drink or a drug out there that can touch that kind of pain. Believe me, I tried. But when I heard a Teen Challenge story on the radio, I finally decided to get help. This program did for me what nothing else seemed to be able to do. It gave me hope. Now I can finally move on and live my life in a way that honors those who lost theirs.
To locate a Teen Challenge Center near you or for more information, visit teenchallengeusa.com.
Well, zippity-doo-dah and zippity-yay. It's time for Fifth Step Trivia, so take it away.
And now, it's the Quiz of the Week.
Yes. That's right. It's time for Tank 12 Recovery Radio's Trivia Quiz of the Week.
You know, when Superman jumped over that building, he had to come down, so I'm thinking of a scale.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. Discoing it out there.
Disco?
Disco
no.
game show stuff. All right. Quiz of the week. All right. Step 5 trivia. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. In Chapter 6 of the AA Big Book, Into Action, in the first paragraph, it states, this requires action on our part, which, when completed, will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs, defects, or qualities.
Wrongs.
Oh, sorry.
Defect.
It's defects. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Trick question.
Tricky. Again, in this chapter, referring to step 5, it states, rightly and naturally we think... Are you... Okay, I thought Bruce had his big book open there. Rightly and naturally we think well before we choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and important step, vital step, or confidential step.
Vital.
Idle.
What?
It's confidential.
Oh,
step.
well, it's that too.
Now there goes the trip to Hawaii for you guys. Number 3.
I'm going to stop following Eve when she says something.
In the 5th step, there is a rule mentioned. It states, the rule is we must what on ourselves and always be what of others.
Hard on ourselves.
Hard on ourselves.
And something of others.
Easy or forgiving or
Gracious.
something.
Kinda. You want to know it? You want to hear it?
Might as well.
All right. So you'll just get a little.
No.
That's a little one. Okay, consider it.
Jiminy Christmas.
Consider it
Okay.
of
You're
others.
you're mean.
I am mean. Just ask anybody.
Well, at least Eve, I'm telling you, it's 3 out of 3.
All right, here's your bonus.
Oh, we get a bonus?
Yeah, you
even
get a
if we
bonus.
missed the first
Yes, you do.
3? You just want to torture us more.
I do. When we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time. We have written an inventory, and we are prepared for what?
A long talk.
What do you say, Eve?
Do I? Look at he's crapping his little tutor. Well, yeah, we do need to be prepared for a long talk, but I don't know if those are the exact words. It doesn't ring a bell. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe.
Long talk, yay!
That was good. That was really good. Yeah.
Man, I was sweating. I thought we were going to have to send you guys to Hawaii. Whew. Won't have to do that now. There we go.
Nope, the boat left.
That does it for the quiz of the week on Take 12 Trivia. Brought to you by the 12-Step Gazette. Visit their website at 12stepgazette.com. All right, we'll be back right after this.
You and I know all too well how talented folks in recovery are. KHLT Broadcasting, the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show, and the Recovery Broadcasting Network are handing you the opportunity to share some of that talent. If you've ever written your own songs and have always wanted to share them publicly, here's the chance to share your talent with thousands of people all over the world through internet radio. For the next several months, the Monty'man will be reviewing songs written and performed by people in recovery. Whether you're an accomplished musician or a novice, he wants to hear from you. All forms of music will be considered. Adhering to federal copyright laws and possible contractual agreements, some restrictions may apply.
Brian Duncan, Into My Heart. That's just an example of music we like to play here at Take 12 Recovery Radio. So send your music, your MP3 files to take12radio@comcast.net. If you have a CD, just go on our website and click on Contact to give you the address. And then, of course, we're going to close out the show with a song by Ray White from his CD, Learning to Live Again. And that song is called Easy Money. Easy Money. So be looking forward to that. If you would like to get a copy of Ray's CD, there's only one way to do it. You can't find it in stores. You can't find it anywhere on the internet except for at Take 12 Radio. Go to take12radio.com and click on the donate button. Donate no less than $11 and no more than $11. Just donate $11 and we will send you the CD. That's courtesy of Ray White. There you go. Okay, chapter 6, Into Action. Starts out, having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator. That's step 3. And to discover the obstacles in our path. That's step 4. We have admitted certain defects. We have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now, these are about to be cast out. That requires action on our part, which, when completed, will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. So let me ask you guys this question before we really start to unpack this. In working with people, have you ever found it challenging sometimes not to fall into a 5th step mentality while working the 4th step with them? You know, they start to write their stuff, and they want to talk about it, and it's kind of hard not to go into the admitting stuff, right? I've found myself, I'm like, wait, I have to slow down. I go, wait a minute, let's don't do that yet.
So they're starting to tell you out loud some of their things. And yes, I have. But I don't think I've ever stopped anybody. I may have said, well, we'll get to the more in depth about this later.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pull your microphone a little closer to you there, Eve. There you go.
Same experience.
Same experience?
Yeah, I've had people, and I've actually had to ask them, or tell them that, we're going to get into that. Let's stick with what we're doing, because they want to tell me so bad what it is that they found out, and keep talking about it, that they lose focus of what it is I'm trying to.
Yes.
See, they're not through.
Right.
They might understand the anger and the principles and and the people and institutions and principles.
Right, right.
But now we're going to get into the 4th column. We're going to ask, what's their part?
Yeah,
Jay?
yeah.
And so I want them to be clear about that, because I don't want them to get into big stories there either.
Because we're talking about, it's a fact-finding mission, this whole thing, from step 4 on, and we're talking about discovering the exact nature of our wrongs. Mm-hmm. The nature of our wrongs is much more important than the actual wrong. True?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, for me, when I first started doing this, I wanted to write a novel. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I did, to a certain degree, and I share with you guys, my sponsor just basically said, I don't want to read that. Mm-hmm. I had maps and charts and, pictures. And
how do you point out to people the exact nature of their wrongs, by this inventory,
Well, talk about the tree.
Well, that's a good one. That's in the 6th step. But I think
but that's okay.
as a 5th step, what I do is I start asking them, people about, what is this about them that they keep doing this thing over and over again? Is it possible that's what their nature is? And do we have the strength to change that? Or the ability to do so? Mm-hmm. And is this really who we are? Because we're not just taking a drunk-a-log. See, we're taking a moral inventory of ourselves. And when they start to see that this is who they are, separated from God, and they don't have the ability to entirely conquer this on their own, then they'll go to God with a different attitude. Mm-hmm. And it's my job to guide them through that maze. And that's what I do as a sponsor. I don't want them to become dependent upon me because of my service work. I want them to learn who they are, for they can be God dependent.
So there's a warning here in this first page of chapter 6. It says this is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. There is doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us thought it necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reason why we should do so. And then it tells you what the first reason is. It's a warning. if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. Why, you guys think?
Not enough humility.
Not enough humility to open our mouth and say, this is what happened? We're still holding on to...
I don't think we really have a full grasp of the problem. That it's a problem of the human nature.
Well, there's something to the effect of getting honest with a human being as well as God. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we just take it for granted, if we have a relationship with God, that, he already knows about that, but I really care so much what other people think about me, and I know people aren't going to like me if I say this out loud. So there's the fear of getting totally honest, but the other side of that is the beautiful gift of being accepted just for who we are. If you've got a good sponsor who's listening and not judging, what did you just read? We're to be hard on ourselves, but gracious to others, or
compassionate.
Compassionate, or no, I don't think that was it either. But
what was it?
The gist
That's going to bother me.
is that we are to be open to whatever it is that they are saying to us, and hold that with. I mean, it's an honor.
Considerate of others.
It's an honor to hear somebody else's truth. And so a lot of times I think that's that's the spiritual aspect of step 5, because we feel an acceptance. We feel like we're on that level playing field, which is so necessary. We either feel like we're so far above or so far below, but this starts to level that out, I think. And in Scripture, like we talked about last week, James 5:16, that when we confess our sins one to another, we are healed. So there's that spiritual aspect of step 5 is huge.
Yeah.
And to know, like Bruce said, that we can no more change these defects in ourselves than we could quit drinking. It's part of that. The second part of step 1, it's our whole life that's out of control. It's not just alcohol.
Yeah, and it's interesting because once again, Bill does it again. He repeats himself because he knows us. So he says, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. Then he says, time, and then he gives proof to it. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives. It's interesting he says newcomers. This tells me again that this process isn't supposed to take you years. Mm-hmm. Trying to avoid this humbling experience, they have turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk.
Yes.
I'd like to say something about what Eve said. And I think what you said is the truth. And I think that's the method by which we get to this thing, what you were talking about. But I think the end result of it is just a little bit different, and here's why. Listen to what it says right after what Monty read. It says, trying to avoid this humbling experience, they have turned to easier methods. See, we can stay here. That's the road that we travel. God don't make this too hard. And so what we're doing, but what you want to see is what you want to happen to you is your attitude to change, your heart, your humility. Because see, we want to learn to approach God on a level that we see our need for Him. That's what the steps are trying to get us to do, to bring us to that. That's that underlying thing. Mm-hmm. But I believe that those experiences you're talking about are gifts and grace and mercies and, these sort of things that He gives us because He knows we couldn't handle it. He pulled back the curtain for me, Eve, and let me take a look, and what I seen was horrible.
Yes.
See, it was absolutely horrible.
Yes.
And I think He's preparing people for that, or was just gracious to me, knew that what I needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says, talking about telling our story, he says, telling someone else all their story, all's in italics. in mine it's underlined and circled. And
yeah.
And then if you go to the very bottom of page 73, it says we must be entirely honest with somebody. That's, again, saying all of it. And we know that fear, and that's why one of the inventories is the fear inventory, plays such a big part in keeping us from recovering from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. I don't know that there wasn't any other way to overcome fear but to fillet myself open to somebody else and just put it all out there.
Yes.
And it was really interesting what happened. None of the things I thought were going to happen happened. They just didn't.
It usually is like Eva's talking about.
Yeah.
The unexpected takes place.
Yes.
Not the expected. And it's a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with our amends when we get to that. The unexpected usually happens.
So what's your guys' take on who this should be that you are opening yourself up to? Some people would say it should always be your sponsor. Some people would say it doesn't have to be your sponsor. It can be a member of the clergy or a closed-mouthed friend. What's your guys' take on it?
Well, I think that you were very telling in the people that you were describing there. You want somebody that's going to keep the confidence, not somebody that's going to go spread your news all over the place.
Yeah.
So confidential is like way up there at the top. And somebody that you trust and somebody that you feel comfortable with. Actually, when I first came into AA, a 12-step program, I don't know if we get specific, but
we use your last initial on there, so you can do that.
I would not have trusted my first sponsor with my inventory. There's no way. But the second and third sponsor that I had most definitely were trustworthy with that. So, yeah. And somebody that I felt comfortable talking and sharing with, who were supportive of me as a person.
Yeah. What do you say, Bruce?
Yeah, I think that when you get to that place that you're sharing your life with another individual, you want it to be with a person that you believe will keep that confidence. And I believe that. I didn't have a lot of trust in the person that I was doing this with, but I believe they would do that about this situation. And I hope that that's been true. Now mine was taken with a woman, as a lot of us know, and but I didn't take my fear and sexual inventory with her.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But I did take the anger in the people, principles, and institutions. And believe me, it was a gift because she was very talented at drawing pictures and drawing out what it was that she wanted me to see.
I get what you're saying about your first sponsor. You didn't feel comfortable doing that with. I'm just kind of the opinion that, if at all possible, I think it should be your sponsor. And the reason I say that is probably because of my own experience. There's something about somebody else that like Bruce says all the time, yeah, me too. That has been where you've been, that I feel safer around. Even a member of the clergy, I may feel safe, but it doesn't feel like it was complete. There's something lacking there.
You know what they do? They just have you read.
Yes.
And there's no real discussion about what's taken place.
Right.
So now it's just a bunch of information.
Yeah.
And it's scrambled, believe me.
Yeah.
What is my sponsor was asking me, what does that look like in your life?
Yes, that's what I was going to. I wanted to read this. This is a definition of nature, and I really like this. It says a property or group of properties, something without which it would not exist or be what is. And my sponsor did the same thing with me, and it was so powerful. I mean, it's easy to write down self-seeking, selfish, dishonest, or afraid. Those words don't mean a thing except that they are defining something that, that I'm just putting it in that box. But it's not humbling. It's not self-effacing. It's not really getting honest. It's not, uncovering all the nature of my wrongs. So she would challenge me. What does that look like? Wow. Then I'm squirming a little bit.
Right.
Because now I'm defining the nature of those wrongs. I'm giving her a real example. And what was amazing is that I had trouble even defining it because I was so blind, as most of us are, right? Because it's not our fault. It's other people's fault. So we're not even looking at our own stuff. So this is where the rubber meets the road, I believe, is, defining, how does that dishonesty look like? What are you saying? An out-and-out lie? Are you just keeping things back? How does it look like? What are the actions, the movements, the things that are going on in your head? And that was the life-changing experience for me right there, because every time I even start that behavior, I'm not hidden from it anymore. I'm very aware of what I'm doing.
Right.
And then another second part of that is, with in your spirit, if you're spiritually fit, what does that behavior look like instead? You mouth that, say that out loud, and it's easier to follow the Spirit in those situations and to do as He would have me to do, and not what my flesh wants to do.
Mm-hmm. So
that was well put.
We need to find out what the nature of the wrong is, but then we need to define what was going on behind that nature.
We need
not just write down.
That's right.
I was sexually inappropriate. What's the nature of it? Well, I was fearful and I was angry. Yeah, that's not thorough.
Yeah,
No.
That's right.
Right.
See, we want somebody that's done this.
Right.
That's willing to talk with us. We're ready for what? A long talk. See, that means there's going to be some back and forth here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not just me reading and then burning this thing up. What did you do this for? Mm-hmm. And remember, I'm not having people write a book. I'm just having them write down what the book says to write down. And then we take that method and we search it and we take it apart. Mm-hmm. And it works for the one that, an example, if you've done an inventory around God, it helps those that haven't walked with Him learn to walk with Him. It helps those that have no trust to learn to trust Him. Those that think He's an ogre to maybe change their mind and accept Him for God, for the loving individual that He is. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because we bring a lot of prejudices and old ideas and concepts to the foreground that we're going to disregard, set aside. Okay, so it's good for all those that didn't believe and those that believe. Mm-hmm. You see,
it says we pocket our pride and go to it. This fifth step, illuminating. Wow. Shedding light on, right? Every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Wow. What I find interesting is that, that is telling you that it's got to be very thorough. And yet sometimes I've had to reel people back in because they'll go down rabbit trails, because some of this stuff for people is really deep. And there are rabbit trails that do need to be discussed. And I think a lot of times when I've sat down with a sponsee and I have to tell myself this, I have to take a deep breath and say, okay, yeah, I'm doing this fifth step with this guy tomorrow. It's going to be a long talk. I pretty much have to commit my day.
Oh, yes.
To it. I can't be going, well, I got to be somewhere at 1 o'clock because we don't know where we're going. And this may go on for another day or two.
Yes, I was going to say maybe more than a day.
Yeah. So, again, but even if we're really detailed about what we do and we expose all the dark, twisted crannies of our past, if we don't understand the nature that's fueling that, then we're just talking about our past. We're not really talking about what's behind it.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. And may I add, I don't want to take up all the time here, but can I add that when I think it's talking about all, in that respect. There, it's talking about our anger for the people, institutions, and principles, fear, and sex, and we're going to take a good look at that. That encompasses a great deal. Mm-hmm. Then, as we go through life, or as we go through this walk, other things are revealed. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can only do so much. Mine took almost a month.
Your fifth step did?
Well, I'm knocking on the door every day, and going in there and spending 8-9 hours. But, I was 60 years old when I took this thing. And I couldn't think of a person that I wasn't upset with.
all month he was going. There was Fred.
It was the saddest thing. It's a sad. But what it showed me is who I was, and that most people in the world, real or imagined, or even if it had been settled, there was a time that I was pissed.
Yeah.
You see?
I remember that time.
Yes, we all remember that time.
Yeah. My mom, my sisters, my brothers, my wives, my co-workers, everybody I met. It was just amazing to me.
Let me see what you guys think. In working with people, I found that usually the stuff that seems to be the most difficult to bring to the forefront is usually surrounded around sex. It's interesting. I mean, I worked with one guy, though. This was the exception to the rule. His kleptomania was more embarrassing to him than the sexual escapades he had with other men in adult bookstores. That was not a big deal to him to cop to that. But the kleptomania thing, whoa. I mean, that took a while to get that out. There was something about it. So, everybody, we talk about that. Everybody's a little different, right, in what they're doing. But I found most of the time it's usually something that has to do with of a sexual nature. It's really hard for people because lots of times there's a lot of trauma behind that.
What I did was stuck really close with the book.
Yeah.
And looked to see if it was selfish or not. It says, was it selfish or not, when it gets to that part. But I had to, at the same time, take a look at my conduct, because that's where my amends was going to come from.
Right.
And I did the sexual inventory around my mother, and I want the audience to know that the reason I did that, because my sexual conduct affected my mother.
Right.
Yeah, so our listeners may not know that that's part of what the sexual inventory is about.
Yes,
it's
not just the person you had a physical relationship with.
It's the ripple effect. It's more the people that were harmed through our behavior.
Yeah, so when I seen that and seen how selfish that was too, then I knew what my amends was. You see what I mean?
Yes.
And I knew my need for God.
Yes.
What could I have done instead? Not much.
Mm-hmm.
Truth is, I probably would have done the same thing and will do the same thing without God.
In that moment, without God, you were powerless over.
You see, so I by this time we're starting to see. You know what I mean? And if we're going to see, then 6 and 7 becomes very clear, instead of blind and have a lot of people making these accusations or statements about it that aren't true. They only needed 2 paragraphs, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So there's promises with these steps. And it goes on to say what those are. It says, once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, he has to tell us over and over again, withholding nothing, remember, we are delighted. That's the first promise. We are delighted. I think the reason I was delighted was because I was waiting for the ball to drop and it didn't drop, and I was like, wow, I really am on a level playing field with this sponsor of mine. And I felt like I could talk to this guy about anything else. Says we can look the world in the eye. Here's another one. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Right, it was hard to be alone with myself in my own skin for so long. Our fears fall from us. We began to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. Wow. Wow. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. Those are some hefty-duty promises.
They are, and they're such strong spiritual promises.
Yeah.
We've truly been transformed if we've done this thoroughly.
Yeah, we have. However,
I will say something.
Yeah.
I might have been having some experiences at this point. They might have even been spiritual in nature.
Yes.
But I don't think I was really aware of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because remember, at the end of this process for me, I knew there was something I'd left out. Okay.
And that goes into the next piece, doesn't it? Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from our shelf. Now, these are instructions to do. Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, or steps, we ask if we have omitted anything. And you went back over and over again. Were those things that you had omitted, were they ones you intentionally omitted, or were they coming to light to your knowledge every day?
What I had done is I had left something out. I had never went to God with a contrite heart. And when I finished and I knew there was something wrong, and I had read Romans 7 by this time, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I was trying to find out who this Paul was. You know, this guy that said he wanted to have the right thought, but he had the wrong thought. He wanted to do the right thing, but he couldn't. He do the wrong thing. So I'm checking that out at the time, and then I went back and I asked God into my life as my Lord and my Savior, and I think I had never done that before. And when I did that is when I had this overwhelming experience, and it placed me where I am today. Now I want everyone to know what this thing is about.
Yes.
Not the steps, but what God is. Say, I want them to know God the way I know God. You know, that He is in my life today, and He has removed the obsession.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I try to live out of those blessings, not working for them. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Bill constantly uses construction terms in this book. He says, "For we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last." That's part of what you want to share with people. Mm-hmm. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? So any of you out there that are contractors and stuff like that, you ought to be able to get this. Have we tried to make mortar without sand? Oh, yeah, I've done that. How come my house won't stand up? If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at, and that's next week, step 6.
Are we going to do 6 and 7?
Yeah, we're going to do 6 and 7, and then the week after that, we're going to do 8 and 9. Mm-hmm.
And let me say why I'm remembering, because I forget that if we're doing this thing and you're not having that overwhelming feeling, remember that what we're going through here is a process that we use to look at this for we can go to God. And it's not saying that there isn't prayers and promises, in there. But if you're not being fulfilled with all these things, that doesn't mean don't go on. I did.
Right.
And I teach this.
Yeah.
I want people to understand it. You know what I mean? And I believe that this is God's grace.
So I think the only step that I'll go back to and thoroughly just rip into it if the person doesn't understand it is the first step. I've gone to step 4 without people really having a deep understanding that I feel is one that I have about who God is. I've still gone to step 4 with them. Mm-hmm. And then 5 and 6 like that. But boy, if they don't have a clear understanding of powerlessness and an understanding that it's not me and it's not the group and things like that, then we really can't go to 2 and 3 and on. Do you guys think?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But I think the better that step 3 is done. Now, the better that it's done, it mean that everybody's going to do it on that level. The more illuminating this stuff that we're talking about becomes. That's all I'm saying. And when we read the promises like we just did, we don't want to leave the audience with the idea that has to happen. It just
some of that stuff doesn't come true until we're doing other things. I get that.
Yeah. Well, I just don't want to leave the audience with that. That's all I was trying to do with this, and I hope I didn't confuse people. That didn't happen to me.
Well, even in step 9, you got the step 9 promises, which are the most read. For people that don't read the book. I mean, they just sit in meetings. They hear those all the time. Well, it wasn't until far into step 12 and working with other people that I actually became financially free as far as my creditors were concerned. That didn't happen just because I did step 9.
Yeah.
Fear of financial insecurity will leave you.
Yes.
I still had some of that going on. Mm-hmm. So this stuff doesn't always...
I do too, still to this day. That's one of the ones that is... I'm very much aware is not completely gone.
Right.
And that's the one I'm free of.
That's wonderful.
See, because it...
Kick down, brother.
Well, no, but I told you how that come about. It's the strangest thing I ever did. When I understood how it was taking effect of me with that inheritance, and I knew that it was consuming me, and I talked to you about it for weeks, Bonnie.
Yeah.
For weeks you had to listen to me. And I went and signed that away. And it gave me freedom. And it not only gave me freedom for that, but it gave me financial security where I'm at. Mm. Okay. But now that's strange, people.
Yeah, it is. Getting rid of your finances and having freedom through it.
It was consuming me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what was I doing? Now, why did I think that had to come to me? Maybe it should have went right where it went.
Wow. Yeah. Sex and finances.
That's funny.
Not really.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Next week, step 6 and 7, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. The original manuscript said we're entirely willing. And step 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. The original manuscript said humbly on our knees. Very interesting. So we're going to be talking about that next week. Our closing song by Ray White is called Easy Money. And you can get the entire CD by going to take12radio.com, just clicking on the donate button at the bottom of the page. And donate $11, no more, no less. If you donate $25, I really appreciate that. But, unless you memo it that you want the CD, I'm probably not going to send it to you. So just leave it at $11. And that $11, $1 is to pay for shipping. So there you go. So here is Ray White with Easy Money. Listen to these words.
A city street on a summer night, in the shadows of the neon lights, low-cut dress and high heel shoes she walks. Up and down the boulevard, love is cheap and life is hard. Now she knows exactly what it cost. She heard it was easy money, but nobody plays for free. She got more than she bargained for, and you know it don't come cheap. Easy money. A liquor store at closing time, a loaded gun and a desperate mind, thinking this is gonna be a piece of cake. But the old man, he's been robbed before, and he ain't about to take no more. The night explodes and a young man pays. He heard it was easy money, but nobody plays for free. Now he got more than he bargained for, and you know it don't come cheap. Easy money. So don't you believe a word they say. There ain't no easier, softer way. In a mansion on the edge of town, a lonely woman's tears come down as she sits and drinks the truth away. He comes home and the life begins, another night that she'll pretend how much she loves the life she hates. She heard it was easy money, but nobody plays for free. She got more than she bargained for, and you know it don't come cheap. Ain't no easy money, nobody plays for free. Yeah, you'll get more than you bargained for, and you know it don't come cheap. Easy money. Ain't no easy money, no such thing as easy money. Ain't no easy money.
Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty'man along with Eve D and Bruce H. We are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye, my friends. Have a great week.
This has been a broadcast of Take 12 Recovery Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty, 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 kitty.